Jonathan Haskel, Capitalism Without Capital, The Rise of the Intangible Economy. Dive into the fascinating world of intangible assets and their increasing influence in the modern economy with Capitalism Without Capital, The Rise of the Intangible Economy by Jonathan Haskel. In this book summary, you will explore the crucial shift from tangible to intangible assets, how it has shaped today's businesses, and its implications for global economies. Discover the key differences between tangible and intangible assets and the unique challenges faced by intangible-intensive businesses. You will also learn about the relationship between the intangible economy and rising inequality, as well as policy recommendations to adapt to and thrive in this new economic landscape.
The rise of intangible assets. The process of evaluating a company's worth traditionally involved measuring tangible assets, such as buildings or machinery. However, intangible assets, which cannot be seen or touched, are becoming increasingly significant in today's economy. This shift is exemplified by the growth of barcodes, branding, and marketing in supermarkets, as well as the immense value attributed to software, intellectual property, and efficient supply chain organization for companies like Microsoft. As the world gravitates towards a growing disconnect between tangible and intangible capital, it's essential to understand how this change affects the global economy. In the era of William the Conqueror, assessing the value of a kingdom involved surveying land, counting animals, and appraising buildings. Similarly, until recently, a significant portion of a company's worth derived from tangible assets like machinery and real estate. However, in recent decades the landscape has shifted, with intangible assets playing an increasingly vital role in determining business and economic value. Imagine stepping into a supermarket in the 1970s, not much has changed physically, as aisles, shelves, and checkouts still make up the essential elements of shopping experience today. But intangible assets have revolutionized these age-old facilities. Think about the introduction of barcodes, for instance. This innovation not only expedited checkouts but also made inventory management more efficient, eliminating the arduous task of manual stock counts. Furthermore, barcodes allowed businesses to implement strategic pricing systems and streamlining promotions, contributing to the growth and profitability of supermarkets. Branding and marketing, two other crucial intangible assets, have also transformed supermarkets' operations. Data-driven loyalty card programs have enhanced their ability to create customer-focused marketing strategies, increasing profits further. This phenomenon is not restricted to supermarkets alone but extends across various sectors. Companies like Microsoft exemplify the increasing value of intangible assets. In 2006, when the tech giant achieved a staggering $250 billion market valuation, its physical assets were worth just $3 billion, a mere 1% of the total. The primary reason for Microsoft's exorbitant worth lies within its software, intellectual property, brand, and the efficiency of its supply chain organization, enabling the swift introduction of products to the market. The rise of intangible assets has resulted in a fundamental shift in capitalism, with decreasing dependence on physical capital. As this transformation continues to occur globally, understanding its impact on the world economy becomes increasingly critical. The age of intangibles is upon us, shedding light on the various forces shaping businesses and economic evaluations in the 21st century. Intangible assets' rising importance. The concept of gross domestic product, GDP, emerged in the 1930s to track total economic output and investment. However, it initially overlooked intangible assets. Over time, these assets have been increasingly incorporated into GDP statistics, but some items like market research or branding costs remain excluded. Reconstructed data show that intangible investments surpassed physical asset investments in the mid-1990s in the United States and the late 1990s in the United Kingdom. This trend toward valuing intangible assets is evident across Europe, with its degree of adoption reliant on a country's economic development. As intangible assets are characteristically different from tangible ones, businesses and economies based on them will exhibit different behavior patterns and features. GDP, devised during the 1930s, measured economic productivity through tangible investments, such as machinery in a car factory. Intangible investments, like hiring designers, were not included. Over the years, authorities have started incorporating key intangibles, such as software and research, into GDP calculations. However, the process remains far from perfect. For instance, the United Kingdom does not include expenses like market research or branding in its GDP figures. Nevertheless, economists have reconstructed investment data to evaluate the role of intangible assets over time. Their findings reveal that in the US, investment in intangible assets surpassed that in physical assets in the mid-1990s, while the UK saw this shift in the late 1990s. European nations show varied patterns depending on the size of their tech sectors or the level of government investment in research, with countries like Sweden and Finland investing more in intangibles than others like Spain and Italy. These findings are crucial because the focus on intangible assets is changing the ways businesses function and the characteristics of economies. As economies continue to invest in intangible assets, they will increasingly rely on businesses that exhibit different behaviors and features from those built on tangible assets. The power of scalable assets. Physical assets, like coffee machines, have limits on their capacity, while intangible assets, such as operating manuals or digital properties, don't share these limits and can be used simultaneously in multiple places. This quality makes them scalable and allows intangible-intensive businesses to grow remarkably large, dominating their markets. The tech industry, in particular, demonstrates the potential scalability of intangible assets, as seen in the rise of companies like Google, Facebook, and the creation of widely popular digital products such as Angry Birds. In the era of intangible assets, we've seen the rise of organizations that base their growth on these non-physical resources. Scalable assets can be used repeatedly in different locations, providing a more significant return on investment. Starbucks, for instance, possesses a key intangible asset in its operating manual. Once written in a language like Chinese, it can be applied simultaneously in every Starbucks branch in China. By ensuring a consistent experience in all stores, this scalable investment strengthens the company's brand. The tech industry vividly illustrates the scalable nature of intangible assets. For example, the costs of developing the game Angry Birds can be distributed across billions of downloads. Similarly, owning the rights to a digital song allows for countless sales with minimal costs. A crucial aspect of this scalability is that businesses heavily reliant on intangibles can grow exponentially, often outpacing their competitors. Starbucks' investment in processes and branding has allowed it to expand globally at a remarkable pace. On the other hand, Google and Facebook have achieved unprecedented growth with minimal tangible assets, demonstrating the power of scalable assets such as software and reputation. This scalability creates challenges for newcomers attempting to enter a market controlled by scalable asset owners. In a highly scalable market, there's little room for second place. If Google's search function remains superior and infinitely scalable, alternative search engines like Yahoo or Bing struggle to compete. Consequently, market concentration may become an increasingly persistent feature. Intangible assets and market crashes. Mortgages are a preferred choice of lending for banks, as these loans use immovable, valuable assets as collateral. If a borrower defaults on their mortgage, the bank seizes and sells the property to recover the funds. However, intangible assets present a different risk. Such assets, like brands or corporate processes, cannot be easily valued, nor are there established marketplaces to sell them. The lack of secondary markets for intangible assets hinders banks from investing in intangible-heavy businesses, posing potential issues for their financing. Moreover, the prominence of such businesses increases the likelihood of heavier market crashes, as the sale of intangible assets after a crash might not recover any value due to their sunk cost nature. Navigating the intangible economy. In contrast to the tangible realm, the intangible economy is characterized by spillovers, where competitors can easily profit from the ideas and innovations of others. These effects can range from the imitation of groundbreaking products to employees transferring knowledge between companies. The key challenge for policymakers is creating regulatory frameworks that protect intellectual property while not stifling investment in intangibles. Meanwhile, businesses need to rapidly identify and capitalize on spillovers and synergies in the intangible economy through networks, collaborations, and partnerships. In the tangible world, such as owning a bus company, physical assets are secure and protected by locks, guards, and property laws. Competitors cannot just sneak in and use these resources. However, the game changes when it comes to intangible assets like ideas or concepts, which can be easily adopted by rivals with potential profits. When Apple introduced the first iPhone, for example, it didn't take long for other smartphones to mimic its design and follow in its footsteps of creating software supply chains like app stores. While the iPhone now accounts for 2/3 of Apple's revenue, its spillover effects also benefited other phone manufacturers. Spillovers don't just stem from product imitation, they can emerge when employees move from one knowledge-based company to another, transferring their expertise in the process. These spillover effects require regulators to establish robust protections for intellectual property without discouraging businesses from investing in intangibles. As it stands, intellectual property law is still underdeveloped, which is evident in the ongoing trade disputes between China and the United States over piracy. For businesses to stay relevant in the intangible economy, they need to be quick in identifying and exploiting their competitors' spillovers. This requires investing in networks, collaborations, partnerships, and business intelligence, which also reveal the positive side of spillovers, the potential for synergies in the intangible economy. By understanding and leveraging these spillovers, businesses can enhance their operations and continuously evolve within the intangible economic landscape. Innovation through synergy. Renowned science writer Matt Ridley claims that innovation originates from the mating of diverse ideas, a pattern discernible in numerous examples throughout history. Inventions like the microwave oven and the rise of Uber both originated from the fusion of seemingly unrelated concepts. Such synergies have strong implications for policymakers, as promoting the interconnection of varying ideas within national and local economies can foster increased innovation, much like in Silicon Valley. However, the intangible economy also leads to new characteristics in businesses and society, including a burgeoning inequality that has not yet been fully explored by economists. Ideas can truly shine when they collide in surprising ways, a theory central to innovation. The microwave oven, for instance, was born from the union of Raytheon's radar defense technology with Amana's appliance expertise and understanding of household needs. The result was an easy-to-use, safe product that defined modern life and sold millions of units. Similarly, the revolutionary ride-sharing platform Uber blossomed from the synthesis of traditional taxi services and cutting-edge smartphone software. By combining these separate concepts, Uber was able to cultivate a rich system through which drivers and passengers could connect effortlessly, and payments could be processed seamlessly. Such powerful dynamic connections, or synergies, demonstrate the constructive potential of combining diverse ideas, a concept that has profound implications for policymakers. Building national and local economies that foster and cultivate synergies can bring about massive benefits. The immense productivity of Silicon Valley, for instance, can be attributed to the countless businesses in the region investing in research and constantly developing new ideas. This circulation of innovation is what pushes the region to excel. However, while the intangible economy enables these synergies to flourish, it also produces some negative consequences, primarily rising inequality. This issue has not yet been comprehensively studied by economists, but it is important to consider the balance between the benefits and detriments of these intangible characteristics in shaping innovations and powering economies. Intangible economies' role in inequality. The news constantly tells us that inequality is a sad but inescapable part of our reality. Those at the top of the economic scale enjoy immense wealth and opportunities, while others are left behind in uncertain circumstances. Inequality, both in income and wealth, has been growing, and understanding the emergence of the intangible economy can shed light on these disparities. Intangible businesses create high-paying jobs requiring cognitive and non-cognitive skills and can afford to pay more than traditional employers. Furthermore, property values have risen disproportionately in cities with a thriving intangible industry, further driving wealth inequality. Inequality has grown substantially over the last few decades, with college-educated men in the United States earning much more on average than their high school-educated counterparts. The wealth gap has also widened, as assets of the rich, such as houses, increase in value faster than those of lower-income individuals. To grasp some reasons behind this inequality, we must consider the intangible economy, which creates businesses that both generate well-paid positions and demand employees with a versatile skill set. These workers need to excel in technical fields while also handling essential social interactions within their companies. Intangible businesses are also scalable and can afford to pay top salaries in the market, think Google, in comparison to a traditional manufacturer's factory manager. The intangible economy's expansion has similarly driven wealth inequality. Property values have been an influential factor, as they have risen unevenly throughout locations connected to the intangible sector. Cities rich in intangible investments and innovation, such as San Francisco, have seen property prices skyrocket, while other areas, like Detroit, have experienced a decline. In conclusion, the intangible economy has transformed our world in multiple aspects and shaped the increasing income and wealth disparities we see today. By understanding these dynamics, we can begin to navigate and potentially tackle these complex issues of inequality. Embracing the intangible economy. The slow adaptation of electrical power in the United States highlights the struggle of societies and economies to adjust to innovations. To better adjust to the intangible economy, governments should focus on adult education and reconsider financial approaches. Initiatives like utilizing intellectual property as loan collateral and government-subsidized loans can help nurture innovation and spur economic growth. The revolutionary introduction of electrical power to the United States transformed factory production lines by allowing each machine to have its own motor, significantly improving productivity. Yet, it took nearly 40 years for half of the factory capacity to be electrified. This illustrates the challenges societies and economies face in adapting to new innovations. To better prepare for the intangible economy, certain changes can be adopted now. One suggested change is for governments to focus on the future of adult education. Today's rapidly evolving technological landscape challenges traditional educational structures. While some argue that every child should learn to code, rapidly advancing technologies may automate coding soon. Adult education presents an opportunity to offer continuous learning for individuals, preparing them not just for current roles but also for the future workforce. Hence, governments ought to invest in making adult education as essential as schools and universities. Another important change revolves around financial approaches. Intangible assets, being sunk by nature, present difficulties in valuation and capital recovery. Such assets make banks hesitant to lend money to businesses in the intangible economy, as there is little guarantee of capital recovery if the business fails. However, countries like Singapore and Malaysia are taking steps to counter this uncertainty by subsidizing bank loans against intellectual property, fostering confidence in financing the intangible economy. Additionally, UCLA finance professor William Mann revealed that 16% of registered patents in the United States have been used as collateral for bank loans. Pursuing such solutions can ultimately fuel innovation and economic advancement. Addressing the financial challenges and embracing adult education will help societies and economies foster innovation and navigate the complexities of an intangible economy. Investing in intangible economies. The emerging intangible economy faces a significant risk of underinvestment due to difficulty containing spillovers. Major tech firms, such as Facebook and Google, do partially fill the void, as they support startups and benefit from their new ideas. These firms also invest in public interest research to improve their reputation and avoid regulatory scrutiny. However, this is not enough. governments must scale up their commitment to research and development to ensure continued growth. Those who recognize and proactively nourish the intangible economy's unique characteristics will reap its rewards in the future. The intangible economy is growing, and so is the challenge of effectively investing in it. A primary concern is the risk of businesses holding back on research and development, which can lead to stagnation in job creation, economic growth, and wages. This is partly a result of companies being unsure if they will fully profit from their investments due to the nature of spillovers. Fulfilling the investment gap to some extent, dominant tech giants like Facebook and Google actively invest in startups within prominent tech hubs. These investments not only benefit other players in the industry, but also create opportunities for the investing firms themselves through acquisition of ideas and access to research outputs. In addition, large tech firms recognize the importance of investing in research that benefits the masses to maintain their reputation and prevent regulatory action threatening their monopoly. Yet, these efforts fall short in tackling the entire investment gap. This calls for a proactive role in government-supported research and development, a proven model of economic growth. As governments like the United Kingdom have funded a third of their nation's research and development initiatives, there are past examples to follow, as well as support for increased public investment in various political circles. These investments have had a tangible impact on productivity. One author's research shows that upping UK government investment in university research yielded a 20% boost in national productivity. As funding increased or decreased, productivity mirrored these changes with a 3-year delay. This underlines the potential return on investment that further research and development spending can generate. The intangible economy shows no sign of going away anytime soon, and policymakers have choices to make. Either they embrace the distinct characteristics of this new economic dimension, actively focusing on policies and investments that promote its growth, or do nothing about it. Those who are willing to accommodate and nurture the intangible economy will surely reap its benefits for years to come.
As we embrace the concept of the intangible economy and its rising importance, the summary of Capitalism Without Capital emphasizes the need for governments and policymakers to adapt to this evolving landscape. By addressing financing challenges, investing in adult education, and increasing investment in research and development, societies can unlock the full potential of intangible assets. As Haskel demonstrates, understanding the intangible economy's characteristics, the impact on businesses and economies, and acknowledging the role of government and private sector, we can ensure a successful transition into this era of intangible capitalism.